Okay, so it's 6:32. We will call the meeting to order. Rebecca, can you take roll?
Yes. Commissioner Brown.
Here.
Commissioner Elson.
Here.
Commissioner Miles. Let's see, it looks like she may be absent. Commissioner Phipps.
Here.
Commissioner Ravazio.
Here.
Commissioner McPherson.
Here.
Vice Chair Janowski.
Here.
And Chair Blomgren is in the process of being here.
Here, but having technical difficulty apparently.
Yes. Blomgren, if you can hear me and you would like, oh, he's gone. I was going to give him the call and information. So, hang on, let me hear that.
Okay, moving on. I think we're skipping the salute to the flag since we are all remote. At this time, we can open it up for public comment if there's any comment that's not on the agenda.
Let me check the comment at tcmmail.org.
Oh, here's all.
Oh, Commissioner Miles is present. I'm seeing no public comment emails sent to tcmmail.org. I will mark Commissioner Miles present.
Perfect. And I see Shanat has logged in too. That's great.
I am not seeing any attendees with raised hands at the moment.
Thank you. Okay, so moving on to item 3, presentations. Ashley, you're going to do an introduction of the intern.
Yes, let's see if Perry, oh, there's Perry on the video. So I wanted to introduce our intern from Cal Poly. We're very excited. She joined us officially on September 14th, and I'm going to let her introduce herself and a little bit about her background, her education, and what she's going to be focusing on while she's with us.
Hi, I'm Perry. I just finished up my classes at Cal Poly in June, and I'm completing my degree with a few units at my internship with Ashley. So my official title is intern for event planning and emergency preparedness, and we're hoping to get some event planning if there's a possibility for that in the fall. But I've been helping prepare for the PSPS and with the inventory and different things like that, and also just been helping with some other COVID-related tasks such as the senior calls and helping out with Camp 2020 and different things like that. So I'm here officially as the intern until December, and then maybe after that if we talk about it.
We're very happy to have her, and we're hopefully she's our first of many interns and setting the stage to show what kind of caliber individuals we can get from college. And it's so nice to have her smile and her willingness to just jump in wherever we need her. She's got camp background, and as she was meeting all of our staff and having one-on-one Zoom and in-person meetings with them, they recognized that strength and like, we could use your help. And she just jumped right in. Yeah, no problem. So anything that we've asked her to do, yep, no problem. So it's really great.
Oh, I think it's great. Well, welcome, Perry. And I love that we're using interns, Ashley. That's something that I don't think we had done for quite a while. So it seems like a great idea. Love it. And thank you for joining us, Perry. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Item 3B is an update from Shanat on Camp 2020.
Hi. It's nice to see everyone again all these months later. I do have a quick presentation, but before I do my presentation, I did want to introduce my co-director, which I might have introduced a year ago at the September meeting, but I'm going to go ahead and introduce her again. Alex, if you could just wave so that they know who you are, but that's Alex. You know, just a quick shout out. She's been really helpful. Taking on extra help, especially during, you know, the craziness that the pandemic is. So she went ahead and jumped on board and took on a bunch of director stuff that I don't think she realized she was signing up for. So I just wanted to give her a quick shout out. And I'm actually gonna share my screen because I have a presentation. Okay, can everyone see it? Okay, awesome. So, Camp 2020. This year we get a double whammy because you'll get to hear about our summer camp and also our school year camp that we just kind of decided to do on a whim, and it's been working out great. So I'm excited to, you know, introduce you guys to this new program. Let's see. Oh, sorry. Oh, there we go. So as always, our summer program goal is to provide a fun and safe program that adheres to the Marin County guidelines and provides individuals with the most authentic summer camp experience. That is very literal this year. We really had to stick around to guidelines, as you can imagine. So our overall goal was, and always is, the safety of the campers, the staff, and everyone. But you know, this year we really had to take into consideration a lot more things. The biggest thing that when me and Ashley and Alex were talking about this program, what I think we all agreed on is that we wanted to provide a service to our community, a service to our families, and especially those families that have been in our program for years, or you know, just community members that really needed childcare during summer. So we went ahead and used that as the foundation for our program. So we completely changed the program, I think, from the last time I shared with the commission. As you can imagine, pandemic is full of change, a lot more than usual. And, you know, we really had to make decisions about the program very quickly and, you know, hope for the best, but always with the intention that the campers were going to be safe, that our staff was going to be safe, and we were going to be able to provide for the community. So we decided to break our program up into 2 sessions of 3 weeks at a time. Given the guidelines at the time, we could only provide a camp for 3 weeks, a minimum of 3 weeks. And we just thought that 3 weeks was kind of, you know, the best way to go about it for parents that just needed a little bit of summer and had other summer plans. So we broke them down to 2 dates, July 6th through July 24th and July 27th through August 14th. And luckily this year we changed location completely, which I don't think has ever happened for our summer camp run through the rec, but we operated at Neil Cummins. We partnered with the school, and they were kind enough to really help us and provide a space that was very unique and really child-friendly. So we operated out of Neil Cummins. They gave us 2 amazing classrooms, and we ran our program from 8:30 to 6, which is a little bit shorter than our normal program, but it was something that we thought worked well. And this year, instead of giving crazy prices and crazy, you know, alternative, well, you know, your family fits here or here, we decided to just do $800 for all kinds of families, regardless of residency. We just really thought that it was the fairest thing to do right now. Obviously, we're praying that next year we won't have to do this all over again, and we can continue with our original price breakdown. And you'll notice that this price is different than the one presented in our original commission meeting, because we really realized that the community needed something else. Based on community feedback, we had to adjust our price to something that was a little bit more doable for the families in our community. So our participation, it was completely different from previous years, but it was more than, you know, we thought we were going to get. So our first session was 16 campers, and our second session was 20 campers. And you'll notice that our second session had a few more participants as our program grew in, you know, in the community and being known and what have you. And it actually worked out perfectly, because, you know, we were able to finally do the age split, which we had always wanted to do, but we just couldn't for multiple reasons in our bigger program. And it worked out so amazing. The kids were split up, I think it was 5 to 7 and then 8 to like 10. The older kids varied a lot, but they all got along very well. And the kindergartners, first graders, and second graders had an awesome time together. So we thought it worked out really well. Staff-wise, we had 18 in total for the whole summer, but we split those between 2 sessions. So we did not have all 18 at the same time. And because our numbers were low, we also had difference in revenue. Our first session was $10,062.50, and our second session was 13,000, roughly 700, a little under 700. So that totaled out for summer was $23,750.50. And that was, you know, the best that we could do given the circumstances, I believe. And a lot of our expense wasn't so much in supplies as it has been in the past, or, you know, field trips. A lot of our expense this year was in our staff. So that was the biggest thing that we were spending money on. A lot of our time at the beginning was spent planning. So in total, you know, averaging hours and what have you from like mid-May to June, July, we did $9,000-ish just between hours of planning. And then once summer hit, we did $30,630. I think I've said dollars too many times, sorry. Which our total expense would bleed out to roughly $40,000. Give or take. And this is just an estimate based on the average hours and the average rate. So it's a little more, it could be a little less. And so switching gears into our school year program, by the end of our summer program, we realized that, you know, the school was going to continue and it was going to continue remotely. So we figured that it was a good chance to continue to offer care, to continue to offer support to our community. So we created a completely new program, rethought the whole process, and offered a staff-led kind of support for remote learning. And we continued out of Neil Commons. So Neil Commons, we switched classrooms, but we continue to operate through Neil Commons. And what we did was we offered two things. So we offered a full day and a half day. The full day being school time and aftercare, and the half day being only the aftercare. And what we did was focus the school time on obviously providing support with the kids on their Zoom meetings, their you know, their technology, their iPads, getting them in and out, helping with passwords, building communication with teachers, stuff like that. And, you know, it was very hard to get acquainted with it, but once we did it, it's been working out really smoothly. The kids are surprisingly well oriented with their own stuff. Since we had started a little bit later, we started in September, the kids had already done about 2 weeks of school on their own at home. So they had a better understanding, I think, than we did. But then we shift focus in the afternoon and did a technology-free activity, including arts and crafts, games, you know, weather permitting. We were outside as much as possible. When the fires were happening, we did a lot of indoor arts and crafts. And as we continue to work with this program, we are just adapting to what the school is providing for us. So in this program, we've done, again, another session of 3 weeks for our first session, and that was pretty smooth. That was just remote, the same way that I had said, remote and after school for full day and just half day after school program. Our second session, right towards the end of our first session, the school announced that they were going to shift gears. So we went ahead and shifted, rearranged, and reprioritized what our program wanted to offer as the school continued to move into hybrid learning. So we did some adjustments, and for our second session, which is the one that we are currently in right now, we are finishing up, we are starting our second week. We decided to split second session from 3 weeks to 2 weeks. And that the reason we did that was because next week, October 5th through the 9th, is when this district goes into their yellow status. learning, and it's just a little bit of a funky schedule that we thought needed its own independent session. So it'll be 2 weeks of second session. Our third week will be 1 week of the yellow status, and our fourth session will be once again the 3-week sessions, now in the green status, which is the complete hybrid mode. And all of our times have been changing, but they, for the most part, average to be from 7:30 in the morning to 6:30 in the afternoon. And I believe they might be changing from 8 to 6:30. Again, as we continue to work with the school, some things are changing, or we're finding things that can be improved. You know, we're adjusting the program. So like I said, the first session was 3 weeks, the second session was 2 weeks, and our first session was actually just continuing to increase in numbers. We had a lot of returning kids from our summer program and a lot of new kids. We had 25 campers, and our second session dwindled a little bit. However, you know, we kept in mind the fact that a lot of parents were not sure what they were doing with childcare because of the announcement of the school shifting gears into the hybrid learning. So we saw a little bit of a dip in our numbers, but as of right now, we estimate that our demand is going to continue to grow as we have partnered with the school, and the school has been offering amazing support. And because we're the only program really in this area that's providing this kind of care for this group of kids, we don't have much competition, which is excellent for our program to grow. And we're creating awesome bonds with the school and the teachers. So it's a lot of good growing benefits through this program. Our staff has been reduced to 13 from the 18 from summer, given the fact that a lot of them went back to college and school and just crazy stuff. But our revenue for the first session was $13,892, and for our second session, it's been $8,060 with a total revenue of $21,000, almost $22,000. And a lot is because we have decided to prorate this program to help with the amount of kids that come in. Some parents only need a few hours a day or only need certain days a week, and we decided that it would be best to be able to provide the most support by being flexible with our program. So that's why it might seem a little bit lower, just because we've been prorating. Our estimated staff expense this year for the program planning, it's a lot less because we planned this program really quickly. So not so many hours were spent in the making. So it was only a little bit under 900. And the school program staff, with everyone working, myself included, is a little under $30,000. So our total expense has been a little under $31,000. And that will obviously continue to grow throughout the school year, as we are planning on continuing until the end of this school year. Now, moving into our scholarship, we had amazing donations this year. I think the most that we've had in recent years, for sure. We had a total of $10,000 given from various community foundations, clubs, committees. So the Lions Club was awesome and donated $1,500. The Corte Madera Community Foundation donated $6,500, and the Corte Madera Beautification Committee donated $2,000. And it was so awesome and so nice. They really helped us be able to help a lot of our families in our community. So for Summer Playground, we offered just under $5,000 in scholarships. So that was basically almost half of the total scholarship donations. A lot of that went to residents, which is actually a lot different than previous years. So what this tells me is that we have a lot of families in our community that are in need. And so it's amazing that we're able to offer these opportunities to help them. And only 2 families from outside the area applied. For the school year, we've awarded $523 in scholarship, and we've seen a lot less scholarship requests, but whatever we don't end up using this school year, we will keep and try to figure out how we can budget it into next year so that we can continue to offer aid through the rest of the school year or even into next summer. And that is all I have for you. But, most of all, thank you so much for your support through this crazy time and these crazy programs. That's what I have for you.
Does anyone have questions for Shanat?
I have a quick question.
Sure.
My question is about the kids and like if they quarantine before going to camp, because I know kids don't carry a lot of symptoms of COVID, so they could kind of just be COVID vessels walking around. And I know that Marin hasn't been doing so well with cases and we all want to get back to school. So my question is, do the kids go into like a 2-week quarantine where they don't see their friends before camp? Or do they wear masks during the day? Or how do you prevent COVID spread through the kids?
Yeah, so we actually don't have them quarantined before because a lot of our families don't realize that they need the child care until a lot closer to the dates. But what we do to combat is our staff and our campers are wearing masks and following the guidelines presented by the Marin Recovers. Most of our staff has been really good about wearing their masks. A lot of them have been getting tested on their own and are very frequently getting tested and sharing their results. And no one has come out with any kind of COVID positive. So I'd say that our camp is doing a really good job. And on top of that, we sanitize all of our rooms like 3 times a day. We really specify to the kids to use hand washing between activities. A lot of our activities are outdoor for the same reason that Marin Recovers recommends that we be outdoors more than indoors due to the ventilation and the air. So I hope that answers your question.
I have one other question. Just because the kids are there all day, do you do any type of like COVID learning session if the kids are staying like after school hours? Because that would probably be a good space for them to like learn about social distancing with their friends and still being social, or about like wearing a mask. Just like a quick little session about like safety and sanitation.
So during our summer, Ashley actually shared a really cool activity with me about, not quite sure what it's called, but basically it's like a glow in the dark kind of chemical thing. And we did how germs spread and how important hand washing is with them. And you put it on and you put it under UV light and you see all these germs, and we made them cover all their hands with as many germs as they possibly could. And then we told them, you have to wash your hands as good as you can. And after they washed their hands, we showed them like if they did it properly, they should have no more germs. And if they didn't do it properly, then, we have to rewash our hands. But you have to keep in mind that a lot of these kids are 5-year-olds, and they're doing a really great job at social distancing for the most part. And they're going to school for like 6 hours. So a lot of the parents and the kids are kind of done with retaining information from the whole day at school. What we do, we don't specifically offer like a session of learning. We just remind them why we social distance, why we wear masks. We're keeping each other safe, we're keeping our staff safe, and we're keeping ourselves safe. So we teach them not through a specific lesson, but throughout our instructions.
Thank you.
I'm just impressed. I am, Shanat, that this has been a wild ride, and the service you're providing is so dearly needed to so many parents. So awesome. Thank you for keeping the kids safe and staying nimble with how you deliver that very essential childcare.
Thank you.
If it's okay to comment now, or are we still on questions only?
Go ahead. That's fine.
Okay, so I just want to say I really appreciate how quickly you guys have scrambled to be of service to our community. Corte Madera is rocking this thing. I'm really, really pleased. My question is, what happens when school gets back in session and you don't have those classrooms anymore? How are we going to continue things forward?
Worry not, we got a solution. So actually, with the support of the school, we're going to keep those 2 classrooms that they have given us. Those are extra classrooms that used to be art classrooms. They have not given us, during the summer, we used real like teacher classrooms, and during the school remotely learning, they've moved us to alternative extra classrooms, which is what we've been functioning out of, and it works great. Are
those the ones that were the old preschool?
Not yet. So we're trying to get our hands on the old Twin Cities classrooms. Right now we're working on the physical Neil Cummins classroom in the kinder area, in the kinder play area. So we take A2 and A11, and they're on completely opposite ends of the hall. So we're keeping our cohorts separate and safe.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll continue to work with the school. So our program is going to stay on campus for the rest of the school year. Fingers crossed.
Excellent. Great work.
I can interject quickly regarding the portables or the bungalows the school district refers to, the former sites of the Twin Cities childcare. We have had a use request put in for those, and we were just waiting following the last council meeting for those to officially go back to the school district. And now we're just waiting for access to get in there, and those are going to be our expansion plans. Because as the school resumes to in-person hybrid learning, there is an hour-and-a-half period of time between the AM cohort and the PM cohort when they go back into the green phase that they need to have a location to go to. So we're going to need those 2 spaces. And then following life returning to normalcy, we'd really like to be able to program a child care program out of there, recreation versus licensed child care.
Excellent. Excellent. Great service to the community. Needed more than ever now, I think. So good job, y'all.
Yeah, I agree. Shanat and Ashley
are working with the pros here. They are really good. They know what they're doing.
One other note to follow up on Shanat's presentation, and as I just wanted to point out, is that the decrease in summer rates, the fees to the families, that was a collaboration between Shanat and Alex, evaluating that we didn't have any registration or interest in the virtual programming, which, if you can remember from the original presentation to the commission, we were planning 2 different platforms, both the virtual and in person, because we wanted to really make sure that we explored all of the opportunities to serve the community based on their comfort level. And when we didn't have anybody registered for virtual, Alex and Shanat used that money for supplies, because the supply cost is a lot more for that, because they're going to be taking take-home boxes, and they put that back into the in-person class, which was able to reduce the fees. So that was all them wanting to make sure that they're providing a service to the community. And then really the benefit of us being able to run and operate out of Neil Cummins has been a total game changer for us as far as building our relationship with the school district. We have weekly meetings with administrative team from Neil Cummins, and we've had frequent communication with the superintendent, and they have expressed their utmost respect for Shanat and Alex and what our team has done. And that was just, it's so great to hear. And so we are building lasting relationships that are going to take us forward when we're doing projects or things as a neighbor that are really going to benefit us. So in discussions, future synthetic plan procurement, synthetic field procurement, we are building those foundations of trust and relationships. So good job, ladies.
Thank you.
That's great. Thank you. Anything else before we move on to the next agenda item?
No, but we should probably take public comment in between each presentation item.
Okay, gotcha.
Members of the public wish to raise hands and make a comment, you can do so at this time. And I'm checking, and there were no public comments emailed. And I'm not seeing any raised hands.
Okay, thanks, Rebecca. In that case, we will move on to item 3C, which is an update from Jared of Department of Public Works regarding some of our projects that we have going on.
Thank you, Vice Chair, members of the commission, and Ashley. Yeah, so I'm going to give a quick update about some of the public works projects or projects that we're helping oversee through construction and in design. So I'm going to steal a screen real quick and jump into some photos. Let's see if I can find that. All right, can everybody see that?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm gonna, start out with the Skunk Hollow Park update. So as you can see, the progress is going smoothly over there. We have the playground structure just getting erected this week, and the playground area, the play surface is going to be short to follow. Some of the landscaping is in progress out there, and it's coming together nicely. The contractor has been moving along pretty quickly and on pace. So we're excited to see this one get wrapped up here in a week or maybe two for the final touches. Our maintenance team is going to come in after this contractor leaves and after most of the main construction is complete. And our maintenance department is going to do some final touch-ups of planting and landscaping, and going to put a finishing touch on some of the picnic benches surrounding that you can't quite see. And I wanted to also see if I can scroll through a few photos. These are taken today, so this is all pretty recent. But yeah, it's still very much a construction site, but it's definitely making good progress. You can kind of see in the background the stacked rock water feature that has a water pump that sends water kind of cascading down a cool little play area for kids. And this is in the sand play area. So I can just imagine how much use this is going to get during the hot summer days. But yeah, we're pretty excited about some of these amenities that have been added as part of this project. And then I'll just kind of cruise on to the next update as well, which is the town park bathrooms. This has been a project that we've kind of been pushing along for the last several weeks, and it's getting close to being done. It basically a high level overview is new paint on the walls, new paint on or epoxy flooring. The fixtures, sinks, and toilets have been removed, and I don't know if you guys have had the opportunity of looking at the old ones, but they were rather old stainless steel appliances, not very attractive. And what's going in, or what has been installed, are modern new white porcelain, a little bit softer on the eyes. And then new lighting on the men's side. We put in some new steel partitions. We put in new changing tables on each side. One of the nicest amenities here is the Dyson air dryers. So a nice, good sanitary way to keep the paper towels and napkins at a minimum. That's been a big complaint in the past about those getting strewn everywhere. So this is that we're excited about that. Our maintenance team is excited about that as well. Yeah, so both sides pretty equal on the upgrades, and we still have to come back through and do some finish touch-up paint around some of the fixtures, etc. But that, yeah, so we're looking at the town park bathrooms to be open for public use by the end of next week. That's kind of the hope there. And then I wanted to also touch on real briefly the modular classroom and the restrooms behind the community center that have been in discussion for a few months now. And I just wanted to give a quick update. We have reached out to a couple different providers, manufacturers of these, and we had a good conversation with one called Project Frog. And they look very very well developed and keen on this project and capable of delivering a high caliber solution. The one thing would be the cost, and so we're trying to work through that. But this is very much in the conceptual stages. We're still trying to figure out exactly what the best fit is. So yeah, we have 3 total vendors kind of in mind. And we're going to try to keep that moving forward. The time frame on this one is very open, very flexible. We want to make sure that what we implement and what we produce is kind of aligned with the grander vision of the town park and the master planning. I know that has been also in discussions of recent. So yeah, I want to make sure that those are congruent. And then the last item I wanted to touch on this evening was the green room remodel on the back side of the community center. I'm sure most of you guys are aware of where that is, but it is right here on the north side of the existing community center, kind of similar in location to where that other flexible classroom space we were talking about is going to go. And this has gone through a couple rounds of iterations. The first round was not really aligned with what is needed from a staff level at this point. So there were some modifications performed, and here's an updated progress set of that, which includes a much simplified version of improvement to that back area. In a nutshell, it's a fully accessible ADA restroom back there, but then no other enclosed office spaces. This would be a little bit more open, flex room that could be office area. There'd be a counter with a little bit of a break area, and then the existing stair over here on the back side that shoots out toward the kitchen, that goes down from this main room level down to the ground, is going to be retained. That was a revision that we wanted to make sure was incorporated. And then the backstage right here is still accessible through here. There's a couple existing double doors, and those are going to remain. So yeah, this project, once we get the final touch plans, which should be shortly, we're going to look at getting the building department engaged and getting at least a permit ready, so that we have the ability to go out to bid. Again, this one on a flexible time frame. We want to make sure that if there's any other changes or modifications as a result of some master plan studies, that this is not going to preclude any of that from happening. So with that, that's a few projects that Public Works has been involved with, and I'm happy to share that information, and also happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Jared. That's really helpful. Rebecca, why don't we check and see if there's any public comment before we take comments and questions from the commission?
Okay, well, I'm waiting to see if any attendees have a raised hand. I'll check the email. Did not receive any emailed public comments.
Okay, do any commissioners have questions for Jared?
Yeah, I do. So the purpose of the new ADA toilet in the green room, is that for the public or is that mainly for staff?
It's my understanding that's mainly for staff.
So is it possible that it can also double as a public toilet? I mean, I'm wondering why it's way back in that corner and not where it's more accessible. Like, is it possible? And I don't know where plumbing and all those things are located, but it seems like if you had a bathroom right at the entry to the stairs, then staff could still control all the space behind it. But if you're, I mean, do we really have enough staff that we need to have a whole bathroom designated for them in light of the fact that there's such a shortage of decent bathrooms for use by the public? Is there a way to make this sort of double as a public? I mean, right now, Cafe Verde is getting way too many soccer players and, people using that bathroom. So I'm wondering about the wisdom of making a staff-only bathroom.
If I can,
yeah. So
what the intention of the project is. Do you mind, Jared?
Yeah, please do. Yeah.
Okay, so the intention of the project originally, when it was formulated and presented to us, I think that was in February. The idea was that was going to be the permanent offices. So there was going to be removal of the restroom and having 2 enclosed office spaces and then an open area with desk areas. So we felt that the better use of that area would be to actually have a employee break room. Right now there's no employee break area. So having an ADA accessible restroom that's back there, brings that area up to code, as well as refinishing the stairs that enter from the street that's across from Cafe de Verde, so on the right-hand side of your screen. And using that as a break area with also expanded desks for projects and a meeting location for staff. During the summer, when we have our camp in full bloom and it's hosted at the community center, that kind of breakout area for our summer staff to be able to come in and spread out and be able to work together is extremely important. It also provides that space to be a little bit more flexible. So if we needed an overflow for our school year program, for example, that right now we're looking for extra space at Neil Cummins to accommodate more, that can be another area that can be an overflow of location for that. I think if we were to try to make something that's accessible to the public, a single restroom in general wouldn't suffice. It would get overused. So as we're considering restrooms for the park that would serve additional classroom space that we would be adding, we're considering the amount of use that it would receive from both classroom and, say, soccer goers. And we would need multiple toilets and infrastructure to support that kind of use.
Okay, so maybe this is a question for a later time, but are we making the bathrooms in the front of the building accessible to the public on a regular basis?
Right now?
Yeah.
No, the community center is closed.
Okay, so
during the pandemic.
Yeah. Oh, so pandemic wise. Okay. So the other staff room that you've taken over on the other side, which was where the intergenerational center was, that can't double as a break room and as a meeting room for the staff. I mean, I know you get a lot of staff in for the summer for the old summer programs when we had hundreds of kids there. I don't know. I guess I just feel a little blindsided. I wasn't aware that we were doing this, and I'm just, the bathrooms are the #1 priority for the park, is getting better, more bathrooms for the public. As park usage goes up, public bathrooms are really more and more important and can really create a problem if they don't exist. And those portables outside, I mean, I know our staff deserves great facilities, but I just feel really weird building a new bathroom for the staff that's not also available to the public. It just seems, I don't know. I need to process it, I guess. Especially because we haven't found a way to make public bathrooms accessible. And I think even pre-COVID, it wasn't where you could just walk in and use the bathroom if you needed to, despite the fact that we have lots of kids playing. I mean, look at all those kids that are playing soccer now and stuff. We need good, decent bathrooms for our community. And I don't know if I agree with doing this now. I don't know. Just my thoughts.
Can I ask a clarifying question? So just so I'm clear, the 2 bathrooms that exist within the community center right now in the front on the Tamalpais Drive side are not ADA compliant, is that correct? Because I think that's correct. Okay, because I think they are ADA compliant. Oh, okay.
Otherwise our building wouldn't be able to be open at all.
Okay, I was unclear because I thought that we were doing the bathroom in order to get that compliance that is necessary.
Just to be able to use that back portion.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And as part of this modular classroom facility study out here, it's going to include a restroom facility that would function as servicing for park goers and soccer players and other people using the fields.
Jared, what's the timing on doing the bathroom in the former green room? Does it make sense for, are we going to be able to catch up with some of the planning we're doing with the master plan and influence whether or not that's necessary, or is it already underway?
Not already underway. I mean, it's been a long time going, and we just wanted to keep it moving along because building permits do expire and then it kind of resets the clock. So that's kind of the exercise that we're doing here, is we're just keeping that one moving. But no, by no means does it need to get built, and we would not be driving that force if it's not congruent with what the master plan is looking at doing.
Jared, I have one comment, and I'm sure you're aware of this. As you're looking at modular classrooms and like modular restroom options, you probably know Redwood has put one in, I don't know, I think it was maybe 4 years ago or 5 years ago. And they have sort of what seemed like a very turnkey modular restroom solution that I just want to make sure you guys are aware of as you're looking at options.
Thank you. Yeah, we've talked to a few adjacent neighbors with regards to facilities that they've implemented recently. So we do have a few ideas for, like you're saying, turnkey solutions, some restroom manufacturers that produce pretty decent quality facilities that kind of just drop into place.
That seems like it could, yeah, that seems like maybe that's the way to go. And it looks like Lucy is trying to ask a question.
I just have a very, very quick question about the bathroom. Is it a non-binary or gender fluid bathroom?
Are you talking, I'm sorry, about the restroom, the staff restroom here, or the?
Yes.
I believe that would be the case.
No designation.
All right, thank you.
Does anyone have anything else for Jared?
I do. I have one more thing. I'd just like to ask about, Jared, if you can help look into these Dyson air dryers, because I know pre-pandemic, those seem to be the environmental solution to keeping, you know, the waste of paper towels and tree deforestation, all of that, that seemed to be a good solution. But now we know that the aerosolization, if that's the right word, of you know, everything from COVID to other germs that exist in a bathroom environment just get blown into the air with those dryers. I'm not sure that they're really the right public safety solution. So I would just like to, before we put those in all over in restrooms as a solution for the town, I would like us to be a little bit smarter about whether or not that's the right thing to do.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, Jared, thank you so much. We really appreciate the update.
No problem.
And we will move on to number 4, the consent calendar, which is to approve the draft minutes from the July 27, 2020 commission meeting. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Okay, a second?
The second.
Thank you, Alden and Louise. And now moving on to business items, number 5.
I have to do a roll call vote.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, because we're
really
on video, it's just procedurally, we should do roll call votes for all votes while we're on Zoom. Commissioner Brown.
Yes.
Commissioner Elson.
Yes.
Commissioner Miles.
Yes.
Commissioner Phipps.
She's on mute.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you call me?
I said yes.
Oh, sorry. Very sorry.
Thank you. Sorry.
Commissioner Ravazio.
Oh, yes.
Commissioner McPherson.
Yes.
And Vice Chair Janowski.
Yes.
And Chair Blomgren.
Yes, if you can hear me.
Great.
There you are, Nate.
Thanks, Emily.
Oh, my pleasure. Okay, so now I think we can move on to number 5, business items. And Ashley is going to discuss the selection of the 2020 Volunteer of the Year and possible direction for awardee recognition.
Thank you. Hopefully everyone's had a chance to look over the 3 submitted nominations. Just as a reminder, we've got the review of the nominations for Volunteer of the Year recognition program. I'm asking the council or commission to consider 1, selecting 1 or more recipients for the recognition. You do have 3 to choose from in all 3 different age groups. 2 is discuss formats for recognizing the awardee or awardees. And 3, consider recognizing a non-resident that provides service to the Corte Madera community in the future. And 4, provide any additional direction as you see fit. Background discussion is that due to the shelter in place and the COVID pandemic, it delayed us getting the material out to request nominations. And the feature recognition usually is to ride on the 4th of July parade, which was also canceled. So we became a little bit more creative this year. And with the commission's support and direction, we decided to delay going out and advertising this opportunity because we really wanted to encourage the community to recognize what individuals were doing to support each other, to support their neighbors through the pandemic, and people that were really stepping up and going the extra mile. So we changed our time frame, and so we went out in July and had a closing deadline in September. And today is going to be the first time that you get to discuss the nominees. At the May 18th meeting, staff recommended that modifying the traditional parameters to recognize the efforts of the community as opposed to an individual, opening it to whether a group or an individual be nominated, delaying the nomination process, and then determining alternative formats to showcase the awardee, which is part of the second portion of this, this request. Let's see. Also recognition that this is our 40th year of our award. So maybe this is a year to do something a little bit different. And this is 2020, the year of everything's a little bit different. So why not? So at the June 29th Commission meeting, I presented a verbal follow-up regarding the ideas to modify the recognition program. And the Commission approved the delayed and schedule. And I discussed formats to recognize the awardees, consider recognizing a non-resident, and providing additional direction as needed. So in this report, I'm asking that staff suggests to recognition to include either showcasing the awardee or awardees in the town newsletter, social media, an article in the Marin Independent Journal, and open to commissioner suggestions. So the first part of it is I'd like you to consider the 3 awardees and whether you wanted to nominees, and you wanted to award one or more of them. Again, in the attachments, we've got Sarah Goody, who is under 18, Rob Snavy, 19 to 60 years old, and Patty Stollier, who is over 60. And now I open it up to the commission.
Thanks for that, Ashley. My personal feeling is that we should be awarding as many people as we can right now for all of the small and big things that have been done in this incredibly unusual year. And so, as you said, because it is an unusual year, but it's also the 40th anniversary of this award, it seems like those things together make it the right environment to recognize people who have gone outside of caring for themselves and their nuclear family, which is what most of us have been challenged to do, and done something really notable in the community to make a difference. So I would vote to recognize all 3 in some capacity, and to use all the tools that we have at our disposal, from social media to the newsletter to the Marin IJ and anybody else that will help us to celebrate this, to really recognize those people who have done something in our community this year.
I will second that. I agree totally that we should recognize all 3 of them, and also do a general recognition of everybody who's been helping out. And I think giving some thought to how to do some nice publicity or something for them would be super sweet. I think the IJ will do a better story if it's 3 people versus 1 as well. So I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, I'm in full support of that. I know we've struggled, just had significant struggles getting nominations in the past. And I still think, I mean, Pat, I think you were thinking like, oh, we're going to get so many people. And the fact that we only have 3, I think it's great. I love recognizing a youth. I think, the more we can try to encourage youth volunteerism and service is fantastic. So I know Sarah's actually gotten quite a bit of recognition already. But it's great what she's doing for climate. And so I agree. I mean, there's no harm. It's not like 3 is some huge number to recognize. And especially when they're in different age groups, I think it makes a lot of sense.
I like the idea of having 1 in every age group.
Yeah.
It's a super cool. That'd be maybe a way to do that in the future, where we get a senior and a, adult, and then a youth. I like that.
Well, that's kind of how we've done it in the past. I mean, it was Youth Volunteer of the Year, right?
My understanding is that this commission has reviewed the youth and the under 18 and the over 60, and that council has done the in-between years. But I think it would be great to kind of to suggest and propose a united program for the whole town.
Completely
And
agree.
still, this commission could review those two age groups.
Just don't call them seniors. They don't like being called seniors.
Active older adults.
There you go.
Just an idea, Ashley, too, when we promote this or celebrate this with the community, maybe there's an opportunity for pushing out a downloadable certificate that would give people an opportunity to say, oh man, I should have recognized my neighbor, my friend, so-and-so in the community. I'm going to download the certificate, fill it out, put it in their mailbox, just to say thank you for whatever it is that you have done. It gives us a chance to kind of help this grow and maybe build some momentum as we go into 2021.
Yeah, call it like Corte Madera volunteer heroes or something, and just make it. I love that idea. Great idea.
I do too. I think that's a really good idea.
And easy to execute too.
Didn't we talk about doing like a less formal, more frequent acknowledgement of citizens just for like doing something good? Or I thought we talked about that last time, like an ongoing thing where you could just, it's a place where somebody could, like an email address or whatever, like please report your neighbor for doing something good. And then it's just a little, like a regular segment on the Parks and Rec Facebook page and next door, and just a way to highlight good things that are going on in this town.
To counterbalance the next door negative stuff.
Exactly.
Well, I think that's
calling about gas blowers and dogs and all the complaints. Like the idea of like Redwood, the Redwood newspaper does the barks and bites. You know, here's barks to these guys. And, you know, might be
yeah,
nice.
I think that's a really good idea because that gives us some momentum going into the next cycle of annual awards where we would have had quarterly or monthly submissions, and we can go back to the people who made those submissions to say, you know, do you want to write up something for this person for the volunteer of the year? I think that's a great idea.
I like that idea. I think we still will we need to find ways to get people to nominate even on an informal basis.
Yeah.
So maybe that begins with our commissioners making first nominations of their neighbors or reporting good deeds in the community. Just a suggestion.
I've nominated the last 2 years winners, so someone else on the commission going to step up. I'm waiting. I can't find everybody in town.
I'm definitely open to hearing more ideas. I think this is a great thing. And we have plenty of social media and town newsletter ways that we can share out really great stories. So the second position, so I don't know whether we wanted to take a motion of the commissioners wanting to approve to the 3 nominations or awarding all 3, and then maybe a little bit more discussion on how we want to recognize them or more direction for me to pursue.
I would make a motion to nominate, to award to all 3.
Second.
Second, yeah. Anybody?
Okay. Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Elson?
Yes.
Commissioner Miles?
Yes.
Commissioner Phipps?
Yes.
Commissioner Ravazio?
Yes.
Commissioner McPherson?
Yes.
Vice Chair Janowski?
Yes.
Chair Blomgren?
Yes.
Thank you.
And Ashley, in terms of recognition, I think what other people have said, like Facebook, the town newsletter, and if we can pitch it to the IJ, I mean, honestly, I think that's enough. I don't think we need to go spend money on gift cards or something like that. I think that just recognizing it and then hopefully spreading a nice positive message, you know.
And people love the bulletin board at the community center. I mean,
the reader
to
board
see their
is
names
perfect.
in lights.
Oh yeah, I totally agree.
It is really important.
I think it'd be nice to give them a gift card though, to something local. Cafe Verde, I bet they give you half off. You know, something that's community based, or I like the idea of having something other than just a certificate. I don't know.
Well, my feeling is that these people probably do things out of the goodness of their heart. They're not looking for any recognition at all. And so I don't know that we need to do that unless there's a business that wants to partner with us.
One suggestion I would make is I was thinking sometimes it's hard to get the IJ to grab a story unless we do an advertisement. So I did look up some of the advertisement costs and connect with the Marin IJ, and a quarter page ad would be $5.50, a half page would be $7.99, and a full page would be $9.99. And so I don't know if some kind of recognition like that. There's also 40,000 digital impressions for $500. So there's options.
I like the idea of doing a half-page ad. I think that would be a nice way to, especially if you got a photo of each of them and told a little of their story and just made it like a nice storytelling ad. That would be super nice. Super nice idea.
We could use it to promote an ongoing rat out your neighbors for doing amazing things too.
Yeah. To make up for all those gas-powered leaf blowers. But so then they'll also do an editorial story. So if you buy an ad, they'll give you a story. Boy, that's the way our media works.
It's not a handshake deal, but hopefully that would work in that direction.
I know that's how they work. Great idea.
This is Nate. I like that idea, and I think this is something that Director Howe can handle without our input from here on out, I would suggest.
Go, Ashley.
All right. Thank you very much for the direction.
Okay, so I think we're moving on to item 6, staff update and commissioner reports. So Ashley, do you want to start with your director report?
Sure, I have a brief report for you today since we did have the benefit of having both Jared and Shanat share out some of the exciting portions of what we're doing are related to Parks and Recreation. A couple of things to follow up. One of the standing items that the commission would like to hear about is dogs in Town Park. And to give an update through the last 2 meetings that the Town Council have presented staff reports, and Town Council will receive at their next meeting on, I believe it's October 5th, an option for a second reading of the proposed ordinance 1000, which would be limiting the leash length to no longer than 6 feet in length, as well as creating a citation for dogs utilizing any of the canal, also preventing animals in the canal area on the east side of Town Park, and adding a citation for those infractions. So they'll have a second reading of that. Otherwise, feedback has been pretty quiet. We've had some comments regarding the dog park in general and just inquiries on how we're going to address the winter months coming ahead. So those are new conversations between our department and Public Works and looking into options. And RJ was able to respond to one of the council members that had some questions about options for a different turf at the entryways and points that are wearing a little bit more. And RJ was reviewing some of the discussions that have come through the commission and the planning department prior to the phased project being proposed. So going back and forth and looking at different options, things have changed since the original proposal went. So we're trying to be receptive to suggestions in the community, and hopefully people will be able to continue to use that area through the winter months. The other concern that's been coming up in Town Park is, unfortunately, there's been some negative behaviors over at the skate park side. I think that some of our skate park patrons have been negatively interacting with other park users and tennis players, and we're waiting for a little bit more feedback from our Code and Communications Officer, as well as Central Marin Police Authority, so that we can follow up on those concerns. But we're kind of keeping that area on a little bit more on a high attention and making sure that we can curb any behaviors. We've had some of our signage come down. One of the signage that was indicating that there would be a couple of hours per week that we have an introduction to skate class that's run through the Parks and Recreation Department. And it's so that we can introduce new skaters to that area in a safe and instructed manner. And unfortunately, people that utilize the park were not able to see this notification in advance. So it was a surprise to them when all of a sudden there's an organized group in there. So also some of our wear your masks here signs have come down in that area. So unfortunately, we're needing to spend a little bit more attention on that side of the park. Let's see, we're continuing our weekly senior calls. Perry has taken the lead on that, which is great because when her introduction article came out in the town newsletter, the next week, one of the seniors goes, "I know what you look like." And it shows that what we're doing and we're reaching out, it's just really connecting with our community. And that's the whole intention of calling that group. And we're down to just under about 100 calls per week. And at the first week of the COVID pandemic, we started at 400. So People self-select when they no longer need us to check in, and they're always welcome to call us back and re-add themselves to the list or add their friends. So I think it's really a great way to kind of stay connected with some of our participants from past programs that are still being asked to shelter in place and we're not able to return to programming. We are also running digital activity guides. So with the flexibility of not being able to pre-plan all of our classes, we've taken it as an opportunity to start really working on our social media, developing our relationships through that platform, as well as getting better at technology. We can all get a little bit more advanced, and we're taking that option, and we've got digital activity guides for September, October, and then we just had one come out last week for October. So as we're getting new classes, we're constantly updating our platforms and sharing those via social media, on the website, and through the town newsletter. And that's a great way to save money. The activity guides are expensive to put together. They take a long time, and a digital activity guide can be put together in less than a week. So I think we're doing a good job. Any questions?
I have a quick question about overall attendance in programs. If you look at year over year, so last September, October versus what you're seeing now in terms of signups, how does it look?
You know, unfortunately, that would be comparing apples to oranges.
Right.
The capacities that we have for our classes, we're offering significantly less classes in person just because of what the guidance is. And we're also limited in capacities for those classes. So it's a little hard to gauge. And really some of our community is really, is still really hesitant to engage out in the community. So I think this year we're not going to be able to compare, directly to something like that. So I think we're just working on comparing now versus March, and we're doing great. We're getting everyone back in.
Probably a poor way of asking the question. How about how you're doing in terms of signups versus what you want to get given the capacity limitations that you have?
We're slowly reintroducing our actual classes that are in person. So I think we're doing okay. We're taking a really conservative approach. I think we would like to be able to offer a couple more classes that are in person, but again, we're limited by space and we can't really plan too much past October due to weather concerns. And right now we're not opening the community center. Community centers in general are still closed based on state guidance. You can have some classes indoors if it's up to 25% capacity, which sounds great for the hall when it's a 350 standing capacity, but not for our dance studio. It's too small. So a lot of our classes are happening outdoors, and we're really focusing on helping our businesses. So we're offering probably less programs and classes outdoors than we could in previous years, but we're focusing our effort in facilitating space for some of our businesses that are able to operate outside that can't operate inside. So we've got a lot of fitness classes, we've got some training classes, we've got some yoga classes. All of those are happening right now outdoors on the sport court, in the fields. So we're focusing on that.
Question, Ashley, would we be permitted to open the public restrooms in front if we had social guidance, social distancing posters or whatever to let people know? Because like I said, there's a lot more people using the park right now, and I really would like to see our public restrooms being made more public if it's allowable. Is it?
I'm not comfortable with that based on the cleaning cycle that you'd need to do. We don't have the staff to be able to clean and routinely clean and control that area. Right now, we're really taking a conservative approach in keeping our community spaces secured.
But are the porta potties still being used in the back?
Yes, and they're cleaned by an outside company. So we don't have any of the liability that's related to that.
Okay, but how often are they cleaned?
3 times a week.
And we
would have to clean more than 3 times a day inside.
We've got the hand sanitizer and everything there next to the porta johns for people to use.
And washing stations.
Washing station, okay. One comment on the dog park. I have been going frequently to see what's going on there, and there is a big dirt pit that's going to turn into mud as soon as we get our first rain. And I think I still hesitate about putting in a section of artificial turf, because that just means the mud's going to move somewhere else, and then the artificial turf is going to get all muddy too. I think we may just have to close the park during muddy times and do what we do with the soccer fields, and that is let the grounds restore a little bit over the winter, and either that or cordon off the bad areas completely, and then see if the dogs will continue to tear up the entire park. It's a real conundrum there to solve it in a way that doesn't involve closing the park. And I've talked to a lot of people who were there, and people really don't want to see chip bark, but they agree it's kind of the only solution that people have seen work, that it works in other dog parks. So I don't know. I don't know what the solution is, but obviously if things get bad and people get upset because their dogs get all muddy or they get all muddy and we start getting complaints, we should just close the park temporarily.
Those are all alternatives that RJ is proposing. Synthetic closing off areas.
I don't want RJ to be afraid of saying, hey, we should just close the park for a while. If we get these really heavy rains and there's just no way to accommodate any kind of reasonable situation there, then we can padlock the park, right? We can lock it.
Just to make a note, his hesitation on that is to consider that if people are making this a social activity and they're going there regularly, which is exactly what we want, then if we have the area secured and closed off, then this group that's come there to socialize, are they going to now spill into the park where they're not able to have their dogs off leash? And are we going to increase that concern?
So you think just let it stay muddy and we've got the dog wash area that people are kind of on their own?
I haven't weighed in on that. I'd like to hear a little bit more on what you're saying.
Corte Madera gets sued all the time. We always get the lawsuits. And I feel like the first person who slips and falls in the mud and breaks an ankle or something, we're going to be dealing with lawsuits. So we just really need to proceed, not let it get too far out of control before we do something. I don't know if there's any way to prevent it, but I don't want to push for the dog park all those years, and now I'm thinking, what did we do? I mean, it's a great thing. People love it. People love the park, but I don't know if it's going to work in the winter time if we have a lot of rain.
All right, should we move on to commissioner updates?
Hey, this is Aline. I attended the town council meetings, and Ashley, you gave the main update for the town council meetings. Ashley did a great job of presenting the issues going on in the park with dogs on huge long leashes or off leash and in the water. And unless I thought they had approved it, but maybe not. I know it's being moved to the next meeting, but in this in the previous last meeting, they it looks like we're moving towards having 6 foot long leashes and keeping the dogs out of the canal, and then also town manager proposed to provide some funding for enforcement, which I think will be really important in making these new changes stick. So I was glad to see that. Yeah. Thank you.
Great, thank you. The Executive Advisory Committee did not meet. Town Park Master Plan Committee, Louise and Pat, do you guys want to give an update?
Go, Louise.
Sure, I'll give an update on behalf of Commissioners Ravazio, Phipps, and myself.
Oh,
we spent about a week earlier this month meeting with members of town staff to go through what's already in motion and identify priorities from each of their perspectives on what we could do. And just stepping back for a moment, just a reminder that this is our effort to update the 2007 master plan and put together a vision for Parks and Rec for the town of Corte Madera, with both near-term opportunities as well as longer term, say 3, 5, and 10-year opportunities that will help to enhance what we offer in terms of programs and infrastructure to the town. And it's meant to be somewhat modular so that as budget and other resources are available, we could implement elements of the program as priorities are identified or become, have a lot of momentum behind them. So the purpose of the town staff discussions, again, was to just get from each person's perspective what's already in their mind. This is not meant to be a comprehensive or total list of all of the things that we could explore. It's meant to be a foundation for us to now build upon. So we want to get the broader commission's feedback. This was in the agenda packet. I'll go through it very briefly. We want to get the broader commission's feedback. We will then be going out and getting community feedback. And from there, we will then start to build the master plan and come back with check-in sessions and opportunities for feedback with the commission and other members of the community. So from a near-term priorities perspective, you've heard it 3 or 4 times in this conversation tonight, bathrooms within the town park are really a key priority. We have the porta potties that are at the play structure. We don't have sufficient bathrooms on the south and east end of the park to service the fields. We have to do a better job for all of the people that come to our town park to have facilities that really live up to the quality of the park experience that we're providing to people. So town park bathrooms are going to absolutely play a big role, and they're going to be a near-term priority for investment. Programming in classroom space, Jared mentioned the exploration of some modular space that could be adjacent to the community center. This is a real priority for Ashley as she looks towards spring and post-COVID to have sufficient classroom space for both daytime programs for adults and seniors and after-school programs for kids. We have to find a way to provide classroom space that is somewhat flexible, that has storage inherent in it, that can be separate from that just broader space that's in the community center that we can't divide up to run programs concurrently. So classroom space is a key priority. Part of that is also storage space. Ashley does not have sufficient storage space within the community center as it currently exists to store what she needs to run the programs. The barn that's adjacent to Cafe Verde has a lot of storage items in storage in it, and there's some opportunities to think about how that barn could be used either for programming or for other community purposes if it weren't chock-a-block full of emergency supplies, holiday supplies, and other things. So Ashley is trying to make headway in going through what's in there, and we're looking for other opportunities and places to have storage that is near and accessible, but not taking up what could be more valuable space for programming and other events. There was a brief mention earlier tonight about the possibilities of a synthetic field. A synthetic field would give us the opportunity to have year-round sports events at the town park. Right now, we have to contend with mud in our very rainy years, and that makes all of this, the fields uninhabitable, unusable. And there's an opportunity to partner with the school on possibly the field that's between the community center and Neil Cummins as a co-owned space. They would be able to use it during the day. The town would be able to use it for sports leagues and have it be a rentable space for other events during the weekends and evenings. So synthetic fields have come a long way. I think, you know, some people have heard about possible health concerns or environmental concerns, but the materials that are being used now are much safer and there are a lot more options. So a synthetic field is one of the things we'll be looking at. And there's also
to add a fitness court to the town park offerings. Ashley's been working with the National Fitness Campaign, that's all initial caps. It's an organization that puts together what we might have previously called parkour courses. If you've seen the one that's on the Marina Green, it's got stations for individuals to work out various different exercises and I think some things are upper body, lower body, but it's all meant to be something that you can go through and go to each station and get a full body workout. And the National Fitness Campaign has provided the town with a $30,000 grant towards the installation of a court like this. So one of the things that we need to do is identify where we could put this. We think this is a great idea and a nice enhancement to what the town already has in terms of offerings for town park and rec. The space takes up about the size of a half tennis court. So we would look at where we might possibly be able to site this, and we would also need to fund the balance of what's required. But the National Fitness Campaign, in addition to giving the town a $30,000 grant towards the installation of this court, also provides free courses and classes for people to attend and participate in so they could have a guided workout. Just going to pause for a second. Those are some of the really near-term opportunities that we have identified. And again, it's not meant to be comprehensive, but it's the things that are on the mind of staff that seem like the low-hanging fruit that we should really be incorporating into the master plan. On the longer range priorities and opportunities, there are 4. 2 of them are big and exciting and multifaceted. One is to really reimagine the community center and how it is used within the community and how it's laid out, what it offers. And part of the conversation earlier around putting in an ADA compliant bathroom in the green room, I think teed up this notion that the use of that physical space could be optimized if we think through how we want the community center to be a part of the town park overall. Right now, there's very little fluidity between the interior space and the park itself. The sight lines are blocked off. There isn't any way to see through from when you come into the community center out to our beautiful town park. And the space itself is limited because it's wide open. It doesn't have an ability to be sectioned off to be used for different types of programs. And if we step back and think about the footprint of that building and how it could be optimized, we have some ideas about other ways that we could lay it out in order to really deliver on a more modern approach to how we're looking at Parks and Rec and the kind of programs that we want to offer and how we want the community space to be utilized for everything from the programs that Ashley's putting on to special events on the weekends where people want to rent out to the space to when it might be needed for emergency use or PSPS when the community needs to gather in a place that that is open, available, and has the resources for them to survive through an evacuation or some other sort of emergency. The second big opportunity on a long-term basis is how we think about Park Madera Center. So right now, I think all of you are aware that when the dance studio lease expired, the town was able to make a case for utilizing that space for park and rec programs because it was revenue neutral. The program cost offset what the lease of the space used to be, and so we were able to kind of fold that into the resources for Parks and Rec. The long term for Parks and Rec is the bonds for that won't be paid off until 2035. So it's an iterative approach to how we should think about that space. But we're thinking that there are long-term and nearer-term opportunities. So the nearer term is, as other leases may expire, is there an opportunity to use those spaces for Park and Rec if we can offset the costs, which Todd has expressed a lot of openness to. And then longer term, how should we be thinking about that space as a more contiguous space with the community center and town park, and how can we make it more of a real gathering place for the town? Whether it's some combination of parks and recs and other town programming and specialized retail, there are a lot of ways that it could be configured, and there are a lot of groups that probably have a vested interest in thinking through the best use for that space. So we don't think it's a Park and Rec's own, opportunity to make recommendations about how it should be used, but it's probably a cross-functional group that should be brought together across the town, planning, town manager, et cetera, coming together to think about that space in its totality and how it could be envisioned for the long haul, so that we start to create a path towards 2035 and beyond that is comprehensive, thoughtful, and takes advantage of all of the various opportunities that sit within Park Madera Center. The final two things on a longer term priority that we've identified, one is the community garden. We started a conversation about that at the last commission meeting. So we want to further explore whether there's some community interest in a community garden and where that might exist, and if that's something that Park and Recs should own, or if it's more of a private citizen organization that would manage it. And the possibility of a community pool or swim program has come up again, and we know there's been a lot of interest in the past. This isn't necessarily only viable if we think about building a pool. There may be an opportunity to create a partnership with some other organization within town. Pat had suggested possibly Redwood High School or the Best Western again, which used to make their pool available. There may be some other way to facilitate and enable a swim program and a pool accessibility for our town without necessarily building one from scratch. So,
a couple of quick points. Great job, Louise, always synthesizing this wide-ranging conversation that we've been having. The swimming situation is that the community of Corte Madera and Larkspur actually voted for a bond measure to build that brand new pool at Redwood High School, and the other high schools in the district, Tam and Drake, both provide community swim time, both lap time, not anymore recreation time, but they do provide community swim programs. And I was not paying attention when Redwood decided that they were no longer going to do that, and I don't know what brought it on. So it is definitely something that we should be investigating. And Ashley, if you want, I've talked to the Tam Union High School District Community Activities Coordinator, and he's like, well, I can't do anything. So someone's got to go to the board, the school board, and pitch them on opening up the pool it used to be from 1 until 4, all through the summer for the community. And we lost all of that time and all of those swim hours. And then the Corte Madera Inn pool, which also used to offer a community swim program, also closed down. So we're really at a deficit when it comes to pools. And I think it's been noticeable now because swimming has increased in popularity since gyms aren't open. So if we can find some way to get those services for the community, that would be great. What Louise was saying about reimagining the community center, I'm wondering, and this is a question for the commission, should we prioritize this, looking at the center as how we want it to eventually go? We know we're not going to tear it down. We know we want to make it more useful and make the spaces more functional. But I'm thinking we should do that exploration before we add on a new portable unit, especially because we have the 2 new Twin Cities preschool classrooms coming into our domain, plus the other classrooms at Neil Cummins, plus the ballet studio or the dance studio over at Park Madera Center, plus potentially the barn. I just think we should hold off on pushing this new portable classroom until we get a better idea of what the overall needs are. I mean, there aren't that many people signing up now, so I don't think there's anything urgent and pressing on adding that portable, especially because I think it's going to be super controversial. People don't like portables. People feel like the park is sacred, and we've run into problems before just doing things too quickly. And so I really think the planning process should happen before we add the classroom, unless there's some urgent need for a classroom, which I'm not able to see. So just in terms of what the priorities are in terms of what we do when, I think that's an important conversation to have as part of this overall planning. Thanks for hearing me out.
Maybe to include in your consideration with classrooms, Commissioner Ravazio, is that our use of the school district property is for specific programs and specific hours, so we wouldn't be able to operate classes out of there.
Right. Well, from what I understand, one of our main needs is to really get back the senior groups that were using the intergenerational center. We had the most popular program going that Corte Madera Rec had ever had in that intergenerational program. And so I agree we need space for that. But I still don't think we should just be popping up a temporary portable or even a more permanent feeling portable. without going through this planning process. I think that's what this planning should be about. And I keep feeling like we're trying to plan, but then things happen that we end up doing things without really planning. And I don't want to be part of that. I want to do a really good job here. And I think Louise and others have had some good ideas on how to make some relatively inexpensive modifications to the rec center that could really enhance its functionality. And we could probably do that just as quickly as we could have a portable classroom installed. I don't know. I need more information. I'm a high information voter here, and I just really need to know that we've really thought this through, and that I think for the good of our community relationships, we should do the planning before we do the building, and not vice versa, except when it comes to bathrooms. I think he should get the bathrooms going as soon as possible. So just my thoughts on it.
I just want to remind the commission that this is an update and we are not agendized for a in-depth discussion
Okay. Sorry.
on this item.
Thank you, Rebecca. Can I just give 2 quick comments? Louise, thank you for that really helpful summary. We did have an ad hoc Friends of the Field committee that was put together by a bunch of Corte Madera residents who are very interested in pushing a synthetic field forward and very willing to help with fundraising. So I'm going to give you a couple of names after the meeting, and we can maybe loop them in as appropriate in the conversations as they move along, talking with Brett at LCM, that kind of thing. And secondly, on the Redwood pool, I know with Redwood's 2,000 students, you know, water polo, swimming, diving, Tidal Waves uses it, North Bay Aquatics uses it, but I do like the idea of having public access to the pool. I agree, Pat. I mean, with gyms having, you know, been challenging to get access to. I have a good friend on the TAM Union School Board, and I also talked to Chris McCune, who's their AD a lot. So Ashley, I can, you know, help, we can talk after and, you know, do some connecting with people that might help us with that.
I think we're planning ahead now for next summer. I don't think you're going to have a lot of winter swim, although I think Drake and Tam are going year round, but I think it's mostly a summertime need. So we can.
Well,
plan.
I mean, I think swimmers, you know, a lot of them are year round, but.
Yeah. Yes, we are.
Pat, there was an entire agenda item about this on a recent school board meeting. So apparently, if you want to go back and look at the video, you can get a lot of information from that.
Oh, good. Do you know when? Was it recent?
No, but I can find out and let you know.
They were considering public use of the pools?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good. Okay.
It's an ongoing thing.
Good. Well, at least they're talking about it. Okay.
Okay, so the last commissioner update is actually Pat talking about the community garden.
Okay, great. So Tanya Koenig, I don't know how many of you know her. She is a master gardener, a great gardener, and a big fan of community gardens. And she is doing some research for us. She's actually been talking to the people who made the proposal before for the big community garden in Town Park, and we've looked at those plans and we like them. I mean, they may have been a little bit ambitious in terms of being too large, but back when those plans were rejected, it was because the beautification committee and others thought that they would not be aesthetically pleasing enough. And I think we've gotten a little bit more appreciative of the value of gardening. And we also think that there is a good political support. We remember well from that community over there, the people who live all along Pixley Avenue are in apartments and condominiums that don't have space to garden. So we are hoping that and it will probably be an independent group. We know Parks and Rec, Ashley does not want to be the lead gardener. She refuses to put on blue overalls for anybody. No, I'm kidding. So it does look like it's going to be a private group that may work through the beautification committee, because now the beautification committee is chaired by Glenda Corning, who was one of the champions of the community gardens previously. So there's that site that we're talking about and looking at and looking to bring back. And then there is the Cove School site, which looks like the easiest opportunity because they had already made progress talking to Cove School previously. And once again, they had a very ambitious plan that was just too much fancy, too much infrastructure investment for where we are now. So She is back meeting with the superintendent of schools to find out what they need us to do in order to make, in order to allow us to use the community garden there. There's a question about water, and if we have to bring the water over the town from San Clemente Park, it would be really expensive. If we could get the school to somehow separately meter the community gardens and have us reimburse them for the water use, that's a possibility. So she's talking to them about that. And I think we'll continue to just push all three of these balls. So there's 3 sites. The third site is the Tam Ridge, which is called the Porter Cooley site. And that is the big open space next to the bicycle path directly across from Tam Ridge. I've contacted Tam Ridge to find out if they would be interested in financially supporting a garden in order to help make it happen, meaning that they would probably do some infrastructure work, adding a couple of parking spaces, and just making it accessible, and then hopefully helping, you know, with expenses to actually put up the fences and build the garden. This is also the area that we talked about adding a dog park, and it's such a big area. It's possible that you could do both there, depending on what kind of financial support and what kind of interest we get. But basically, in the terms of these gardens, we're trying to keep it simple and inexpensive so that we can help people who can't grow vegetables in their own properties have this space. And so it might be just simple raised beds. We don't even provide the dirt. People have to bring in their own soil. We're not sure exactly how to go about making it work. And again, some of it depends on how much financial support we get. If Tam Ridge understands what a great asset it might be for their renters, they might be willing to contribute. Right now, the gal in the sales department has listened to me and talked to me, and she still doesn't know who I should talk to see if we can get some support from them. So I'm waiting for her to figure out whether we need to go to corporate or whether she should start with her management. And I think we need to start with her management. And I've actually been in touch with someone from McFarland who built it. And he said, yes, we were totally supportive of this happening previously, but now that there's a new company running things, they're the ones who would need to decide and support that. So Tanya is also investigating, trying to find adoptive parents for the community gardens, whether it would be the Corte Madera Community Foundation or the Beautification Committee through the Community Foundation. You know, the Community Foundation provides the 501c3, the nonprofit status that allows people to give money and write it off on their taxes. So we are looking for someone who can adopt the community gardens project. So the town would be asked to support it, but the town would not be asked to staff it. We would do it with volunteers, as is done in Larkspur right now. So kind of modeling a little bit after how Larkspur is set up.
Commissioner Ravazio, did you ask Tanya to join the meeting tonight to provide an update? Because I'm seeing.
And she said she was going. She said she was going to, but then I don't know. She fell off the radar.
No, she is. She's on the attendees list.
Oh, great! Oh, Tanya, excellent. Let's hear have Tanya give us an update, because I haven't heard from her for over a week or so. So she's probably got some new updates. Hi, Tanya.
Hi, I'm Tanya Conker. I worked on the Cove Garden, possibly putting the Cove Garden in a couple years ago with Glenda, and that kind of fell apart. So we're looking to reboot this thing and do it on a much smaller scale. And to implement it, we need to find a location. I am not a firm believer that it's going to be able to go into the town park. I really like that Porter Cooley site, and I think we should aggressively go towards that, and also do something at the Cove School. Really what we need to do is to find out if this is something the community is going to get behind, get our volunteers. I will do everything I can to organize and do as much as I can. Can't do it alone. So we need to find those people who really do want a community garden and can get involved. So at this point, I've talked to a few people. I am, you know, if the condos that are right next to the Porter Cooley Place location can't provide parking spaces. I think we can arrange it with Tamil Plaza to do a few places. You know, most of the activity is going to be midday, mostly weekends, and I think we can talk to them and see if there's a possibility of getting parking spaces in there. It's much closer. I think the parking in the other community is kind of hard to manage, getting people in and out easily. So those are just my thoughts. I really wasn't planning on speaking, so I didn't prepare anything.
Oh, that's fine.
Okay, well, I think since it really is supposed to be an individual commissioner update, that we probably don't want to keep going on too long about the garden.
Yeah, so that's you know, something that I'm willing to work on. Just want to get the community behind it. That's all I'm going to say.
That sounds great.
Okay.
Thank you, Tanya. Thank you.
Sure, Pat. Thank you.
Okay, item 7, routine and other matters. It looks like 7.
Question
Oh, sure.
on the community gardens is, how are we planning on getting community input on the sites and sort of the look and, you know, details about this?
Yeah, that sounds like you're volunteering to help us solve those things.
Well, I'm just not hearing about any of those things, so I was just wondering how that, or if you've got a plan about that.
Well, I think my assumption is that we would, when we're going to do this survey of the community about parks and recreation services and the town park plan and the rec center, that we could include questions about community gardens as well. But I also think, you know, if we put it on the agenda at a Parks and Rec meeting and we have come up with a plan for how to make it work, and I think people will tune in. I don't think we're going to have the opposition that we had previously. I think people are more aware of the importance of securing some semblance of a local food supply, and growing our own food is a big part of that. And I think the times have changed. We're not going to have the same kind of opposition that we had before. I don't think. I'd be really surprised if we did.
Any other comments or questions for Pat? All right. So in October, it is our standard practice to look at the fee resolution. And beyond that, I believe we have nothing left on our agenda. So at 8:14, we will adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everybody.